Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Ladies, it is sweaty season. Things are heating up, so today we are going to talk about summer makeup. The best tips and tricks I have for you to get the most long-wearing, lasting coverage from your makeup when you're trying to beat the heat. So if you think that video would be a helpful one for you, be sure to stick around. Let's talk summer makeup. Let's start off with the basics. A general rule of thumb when we are talking saint makeup is you want to make sure that anything you put underneath your makeup, whether it's the dead of winter or the middle of summer, is silicone free. Now, not everyone has issues with silicone under their makeup, but a lot of people do. Saint is a cream-based makeup, so oftentimes silicones are going to cause slippage. There is no time more than when we are in 100-degree heat, when we don't want the products underneath our makeup to affect the performance of the products that we have on our face. So be sure that you are looking at your skincare, your sunscreen, if you're using a primer, any of those things to make sure that they are silicone free. And just note, there are more words, more ingredients that are silicones than just the word silicone. So you can always send me a message, ask me to take a look at the back of the ingredients list of a product, but also in the description box of today's video, I'm going to link these are my favorite silicone-free products and a link to anything that we talk about today regarding priming and setting the face so that you have a resource kind of in abundance from drugstore to beyond of different products that are going to suit your needs that are silicone-free. So the number one thing that we want to do in the summer is make sure that the products that we put on our skin have no silicone. But while we're talking about products that we put on the skin, the other thing that's important to remember is that you want to take a look at your summer skincare routine and decide, is this the same skincare routine that I needed in the winter? The more products that we put on our face and we start building up layers of serums and moisturizers and sunscreens, the more likely it is that something is going to negatively interact with something else. So you'll often hear people talking about how do products perform under makeup. That goes for all of your products. So what you want to do in the summer, and you want to reassess this in the winter as well, but in the summer, you want to decide, do I need the same amount of products or products that do certain things that I did in the winter? Meaning oftentimes, myself included, I have drier skin in the winter. So one of the things that I'm putting on my face is a moisturizer. And I look for a heavier silicone-free moisturizer as I do have drier skin in the winter. When it comes to summer, I don't use a moisturizer on the daily. I only use it when it's absolutely needed. And then I use a light moisturizer that's silicone free because the more heavy the moisturizer, if you're then putting makeup on and you're sitting in the heat all day, the more likely it is that that oil production is going to increase. So take a look at your skincare routine and decide, what do I need and what don't I need now that the season has changed to summer? So we want to look at what we're putting on the face and make sure it's silicone free. And then we want to make sure that our skincare in the summer matches the actual skin issues that we have in the summer. So if we're producing a lot of oil and a lot of sweat, do I need the same products under my makeup that I did in the winter? Generally speaking, I don't recommend or feel that a primer is needed when you're talking about saint makeup in order to get general longevity. Oftentimes when you're struggling with longevity with the makeup, it's because you don't have the right colors or you're not using a color corrector to target the areas that we have this excess color in the skin. And once you work through getting the right shades and the right color corrector, you're then gonna see that you have really good longevity with the skin. The time that changes for me is when you're changing the environment around you, or if you have very, very oily skin. Those are times that you may wanna consider putting something underneath your makeup. One of the products that I really enjoy using in the summer is from Carpe. It's actually a sweat absorbing face lotion. So what I will do is I will do my normal skincare. And for me, I have a very simple normal skincare routine in the morning. I wash my face, I use a toner, I'm gonna use a vitamin C, and then I'm gonna use sunscreen. So I'm going to change up before I use sunscreen. This is what I would use for me in lieu of a lotion. And like I said, I don't often use lotions in the summer, but this product right here is also going to help with reducing sweat. So I use it on my face, the back and the front of my neck. You know, when you're sitting out at summer softball and summer baseball games and it's just hot, this product does a nice job of really reducing the overall sweat production. So I have this on my face already. After this, I'm gonna go in with a sunscreen because first of all, we always want to be wearing a sunscreen. It's one of the best things that you can do for your skin, but also it's obviously really important for preventative things and not just skin cancer, but also other skin concerns like dark spots and sunspots and things like that. And one of my favorite sunscreens to use, again, I have all of this linked, is from Lightsaver. Now this tends to work good with almost all skin types. I would say extreme oil maybe being the only one where I would pick something different, in which case, if you are acne prone or have extreme oil, you may want to choose something like the La Roche-Posay. And again, that is linked. This has a really nice tint to it. And I did put a little bit of it on before this video. So if you're familiar with the appropriate use of sunscreen, you want to use 2 fingers worth of sunscreen. That's why when makeup says it has sunscreen in it, that's wonderful. That is an added layer of protection. You will never use enough of a skin tint or a foundation, which is again 2 finger lengths. And I wanted to show you, this one's tinted. You will never use enough to get the actual protection that the makeup is saying that you have. So you still want to go in regardless of whether or not your makeup has sunscreen in it with a sunscreen first. And I really like this one. I wanted to put a little bit more on than I already had on so that you can see it has a beautiful glow and a little bit of a tint to it. So it does help blur the skin. So I'm adding a little bit just so you can see it freshly applied because it is gonna dry down. It works wonderful with Saint makeup. I've linked all sorts of options for you so you can certainly pick, but this one is by far my current favorite. And I'm somebody who has normal skin, but it is acne prone, and I've had no negative reactions with this one. So now I need to let that dry because here is my third tip. So step 1, avoid silicones under your makeup. Step 2, make sure you are using the right type of skincare for your current skin needs. And something else that I should mention, you never want to use oils under your Saint makeup unless this is something that you want to test. But generally speaking, oils on the skin that don't fully dry down are going to cause slippage. So point 3 is the dry down. No matter what you are putting on your face, sunscreen, lotions, oils, whatever it might be, especially in the summer, you need to give this the time to dry down in order to get the best longevity of your makeup. So typically you want to wait about 15 to 20 minutes after putting on all of your face products before you go into makeup application. I did wait previously. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what this gleam looks like before it starts to dry down, and then you'll see it as it does dry down. But in the meantime, typically I do that in my bathroom. I blow dry my hair. I prep my perfector sponge. I do all of those sorts of things to make sure I give adequate dry down. But this is also a great time to start prepping or even applying your eyeshadows. If you are somebody that doesn't typically use an eyeshadow primer, it's something you may want to consider for the summer. For me, I don't have oily eyelids naturally, but I do have hooded eyes that have creases in them. So I am always prepping my eyes for the longevity of my eyeshadow. These are my 3 favorites, but also for the purposes of not having my eyeshadow really sitting in those cracks and creases and having that creased look throughout the day. So your eyeshadow primer in general is gonna do that for you. In addition to that, in the summer, I do have more of an oily eye. Generally speaking, I am a sweaty kid. Like me and sweat, we go well together. So I am always going to be sure to prep my eyelids as part of a summer routine. So I'm gonna take my go-to, which is MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre. I also just held up the one from Urban Decay. I believe that these 2, for me, for mature eyes, work the absolute best. The third one I held up is called Thank Me Later. It is a great primer from Amazon. It doesn't have any color correcting in it, so you can certainly color correct your eyelids with your Saint makeup, but it does a nice job as well. I know a lot of people who absolutely love this primer. This one is not the best for me. However, it is incredibly affordable and it comes highly recommended and highly rated by a lot of people. So if you're looking for a really affordable one that also plays well with mature eyes, this is a good one to try. Now, our final step of skin prep is going to be an optional one, but I think it is really dependent on what type of heat we are talking about. For me, I like to prep my makeup with the Plush Prep Mist. This is a hyaluronic acid, so it has hyaluronic acid in it, so it's going to boost the hydration and the general plumpness of the skin, but it also has caffeine in it, which again is going to help reduce the look of fine lines and wrinkles and also reduce redness, and it has a little bit of tack to it. So it's really nice for getting a little bit of additional stick, a little bit more lengthening the application of your makeup. However, this may not be enough. Like if I was going to an amusement park for the day, this would probably not be enough. If I was sitting out at a baseball game for hours on end, this would probably not be enough. But I live in Cleveland, so while we are hot, we don't average 100-degree days. For somebody who does, or somebody who really produces a lot of oil on the skin throughout the day, you may want to consider in the summer months using a primer that gives you a little bit of a tack to it. I have several recommendations in the link below, but my favorite, and I can't find it, but it is from the brand Milk, but it's in the black one. These are the Milk Hydro Grip Primers. I'm gonna use this one today. It's lovely. I just think it's a smidge less effective than the black or the green one, but I love it because it's shimmery and shiny and gives a beautiful glow without shimmer flakes or anything like that. However, there are some really good ones at the drugstore. e.l.f. makes these Power Grip primers. There is this one that has niacinamide in it. There's a green one that doesn't have that. And then there's a black one that is a mattifying one. So some of this is going to be what is your preference. Overall, the one that I think works the absolute best is the Milk Hydro Grip in the black bottle. For today, we're gonna go ahead and apply this one. We're gonna let this dry down a bit, and then we're gonna do some makeup. So as you will see, this has that pretty coloring to it, and it gives a really nice finish on the skin. Now, as I said before, generally speaking, if you need to use a primer on the daily in optimal weather just to get your makeup to last, you probably have the wrong shades. However, when we're talking about extreme heat or lengthy amounts of time out in the heat, this is something that you will find to just be effective and helpful. And I know I have some Florida girls and some Texas girls who have already contacted me and told me that they are upwards of 100 degrees. It's 52 degrees where I'm at today. I do not have any issues with longevity of my makeup right now because that's just not where we are at weather-wise, though I'm very envious of you. So with these, they do give a little bit of tack. I would not describe them as sticky, but I would describe them as tacky. And again, this one has that beautiful sheen to it. So they do a nice job of extending the life of your makeup. While we let that dry, I'm gonna start my eyeshadow and we're gonna get into makeup. One of the other tips that I have for you is I highly recommend picking up a tubing mascara for the summer. One of the really nice benefits of a tubing mascara is it helps prevent the smudging underneath the eyes. The way that this adheres to the lashes in the tubes, you have less of that transfer, if any. And in the summer, when we have more sweat and we have more oil production and we're already naturally a little bit more wet on the face, this is going to help prevent that runoff under the eye, as well as setting your under eye with an eyeshadow and a powder to also help prevent any sort of smudging under the eye, which we will do after we apply our face. Now, naturally, you could just go into the application of your Saint 3D foundation, apply it as you normally would. My tip for you in the summer, less is always more, but generally speaking, you also need to use the color corrector. As we say, less is more, less thin layers, maybe a more natural coverage if you're gonna be outside all day, but don't skip the color corrector, because as that makeup is breaking down when you don't have the right colors and you're noticing like, why are my dark spots popping through? Why is my discoloration popping through? It's once you get color correction down that you start to alleviate those concerns. You don't want to skip that in the summer because you're trying to wear less makeup. You just want to wear less thin layers. But for today's video, I'm going to use a skin tint. I'm going to use the Versed skin tint because it has sunscreen in it. However, both of these are lovely products. This is the Milk Hydro Grip Skin Tint. Again, you're gonna notice a theme. This one is also going to be a little bit grippy, but this one doesn't have sunscreen. Both are silicone free, both work lovely. Being silicone free means you can put any of your Saint makeup on top, including a highlight. I know many people like to start with a skin tint underneath and then apply their makeup and see if they even need a color corrector on a very light coverage day. You have all of these possibilities that you can try. These two, guys, I've tested so many skin tints and there are some very lovely ones out there that I will share with you that are not silicone free, but these two are. So when you're making a choice, this one is going to be more gel-like. It's going to be more cooling on the skin. It's going to be buildable coverage, but it will start out lighter coverage. However, it is grippy, again, which helps with longevity. However, this one has sunscreen in it. It is a little bit more light to medium coverage, also buildable, but I'm choosing this one today because I have baseball and softball tonight. So again, we're beating the heat, but also protecting our skin against the sun. So I'm just gonna take a little bit, pop it on, and we will use our Saint over top. Another really nice thing about a skin tint is that it's going to dry down. And if you find a good one, like the two that I recommended or anything that I would ever share with you, you wanna find one, and these are ones that will not dry in a crusty, cakey, or cracky manner like you find with a lot of foundations. These are lightweight, they do dry, which means you're gonna have a little bit more longevity overall with your makeup. And this one again has sunscreen. Now, after I do this, this is when I go in and I do my brows. So I have a little bit of a brow tip for you. When it comes to your brows, I like to wipe, see that excess skin tint? Same thing happens when I use my Saint makeup. So I like to wipe my brows off just to make sure I'm getting all of that color out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and lift them. But the tip that I have for you is if you are somebody who fills your brows, make sure you're using, in extreme heat, a product that isn't going to like drip or melt. So if you're using an eyeshadow or something like that, it's powdery, you're gonna have a pretty solid finish. If you're using your contour, if it's a Saint contour or a cream contour from another company, it may not dry down. So is it going to get really moist and you're gonna have any bleeding from that? You guys know my favorite brow product, natural looking finish, is from Refi, and this one is a gel, and this one is going to dry. It's not gonna make my brows crusty or anything like that. It is gonna give me this little bit of color that I just pop through the brows, so I am getting a fuller brow because mine are getting really sparse. It also helps set, so I get greater longevity. And since it is something that's going to dry, I don't have to worry about it like bleeding on the skin, which is also something that oily girls tend to have to worry about, is their brow product disappearing, not lasting, or actually like kind of feeling like it's melting. So this is a really great one for that. So now we have our eyes done, we have our base skin tint on, brows are done. Let's go ahead and use our Saint products to finish off our face look. And then we're gonna talk about how we set our makeup and also some lasting lip products. So there we have our Bella bronzer, raspberry lip and cheek. I used Candlelit as my brightener for under my eye. I got good coverage, covered my darkness and my redness and my sunspots with my skin tint. So this is our look. So now the question is, what can we do over top of this to get even longer lasting, longer wearing makeup if we're gonna be in the heat? First thing that I'm gonna do is the oldest trick in the book. I'm going to set with powders. First off, I am going to set my bronzer. This is from Dibs. This is the shade Spiced Chai. I really like the formulation of Dibs. It is light, it is finely milled, so it's going to set those areas. This one has a little bit of a sheen to it, so I'm going to keep that glow. You can certainly also use a matte, but this one also smells like chocolate. This is the brush from Dibs. You can certainly use your blush and bronzer brush. I don't like to mix brushes that I use cream on with powders because then you kind of get that cakey effect. So I picked up the brush with Dibs. I have really liked Dibs products. I like the smell, I like the colors. They have cream contour and blush sticks, but this just gives you a lock in your cream with a powder, and you're going to increase the longevity. And as long as you are light-handed, and you'll see, you still have that sheen, it's not going to affect like a cakey outcome. It's not like baking a cake when you're being light-handed and using finely milled products. The same as the RMS blushes. There are so many really good powder blushes on the market. I happen to love a lot of them. If you're looking for a drugstore one, Milani makes a baked blush that is beautiful, and that's actually what I was gonna use in this video, but I can't find it. However, the ones from RMS are in like top favorites of mine. These are pricier, but their performance is amazing. They also perform really well on their own without a cream blush underneath. But I'm just going to take a little bit and I'm going to set that blush area. I do tap off the excess the same way I do with eyeshadow. And we are going to get increased longevity. And this is literally the oldest makeup trick in the book. Saint used to have a powder bronzer. It was called the Cayman powder bronzer. And if you're listening, we would like for you to bring that back as it's summer and it's hot and we would like to set our creams with powders. So in the meantime, just pick up your favorites, or I will link again all of my favorites below and you'll have lots of options to choose from. Now that we've set our bronzer and our blush, now we're going to set the rest of our face. General rule of thumb, Saint's cream highlights do not self-set. They're always emollient, they're always dewy and glowy, and they're always a product that you can work with. With that being said, I always recommend setting the parts of your face that you want to reduce creasing, that you want to blur, or you want to reduce shine with your Vanilla Dust setting powder. And the same holds true even when I'm wearing a skin tint. You'll notice this is very dewy and glowy, and I wanna set that, even though this is more of a self-setting product, I still wanna set that for longevity, to reduce creasing, and because it's a little glowier than I would like. The Vanilla Dust setting powder is very finely milled. That's why it works amazing on mature skin. It's not going to be a heavy powder. So this is when you really need to assess, is it enough? If you have very oily skin, the Vanilla Dust setting powder may never be enough for you, in which case you would wanna pick up a bit of a heavier translucent powder. I have several linked, but NARS works really, really well. I also prefer this one when I am going to be out in the sun all day under my eyes. A loose setting powder is what you really do want to consider using though when you want the longest set and the ability to combat the highest level of oil production. However, for me, I haven't found a loose powder that doesn't make my under eyes make me look like I'm 20 years older. And I know I would rather have more dewy looking under eye than an under eye that now has like pronounced wrinkling and all of my under eye, crow's feet, crevices, and all of that really exacerbated. So I am not a fan of a loose powder under the eye, but if you have found one that you like, please share it in the comments below. For all intents and purposes, I'm gonna take my powder puff and my NARS, and I am going to pounce this on the back of my hand to really reduce any globbiness that might happen on the face. And then I'm going to, you see how we've reduced that glow and blurred this area a little bit? For me, this powder works really well when I'm going to be in hotter temperatures or I need to reduce the glow a little bit more than my vanilla dust would give me. I am gonna do this smile lines. And here's another longevity tip for you if you're gonna be wearing a lip product. Powder your lips. One, if you have wrinkly lips like I do, powdering the area of the lip line is going to help reduce wrinkling. It's gonna blur it a little bit. Well, I shouldn't say reduce wrinkling. It's going to blur it a little bit. But a powder on the lips first is also going to help with the longevity of your makeup. I am going to use, this is the Mario Soft Sculpt. This is an excellent powder. I have tried a lot of loose powder formulations. I'm gonna put a little on here, tap, get off the excess, and this is what I'm going to use to set the less textured area of my face, and I am going to get excellent longevity here. You could also use this over any of your cream bronzer, cream blush. Just keep in mind that oftentimes these will change the color and dull it down a little bit, which is okay if you're like, oh, I applied too much blush, my bronzer is too heavy. Something like this will dull down the color. The reason that I typically set my bronzer and my blush area with a powder bronzer or blush is because I want to maintain that color and that glow. So something like this will reduce it, while a powder bronzer or a powder blush will kind of keep it intact. But there we have our setting, and you'll see we are still glowing. We still have dewy looking cheeks, but we have really locked everything in. But there is one final step to locking in your makeup that we're gonna do after we do our lips. Lip liner is on. Let's talk about the perfect summer product for extending the wear on your lips. You guys, it's a lip tint. Because this one has a dry down and it's going to give you a stain, this is a perfect base to having a longer lasting lip. So this is Berry. This is also an excellent product to use as a cheek tint because it's going to dry down. It's going to give you a longer lasting blush. So you could put this down first, you could pop your favorite lip and cheek over top, and you're going to get even better wear out of your cheek products. And then you could even set it with a powder. You could really layer that up, and because this is a base of a stain, you're going to get really good longevity. So I'm gonna let this sit for a minute. And now you can simply add your favorite lip and cheek, your favorite lip product. I am going to use this one by K-Skin because it is a tinted SPF lip product that doesn't smell bad. You guys, these are so lovely. Look at this color. It smells delightful. This one is Nude Ting, and it is a broad spectrum SPF 30, which if you are, maybe you are a gardener, you have kids in sports, you love amusement parks, look at that. Is that not so beautiful? It is becoming a little bit easier to find lip sunscreens that don't taste awful. But the finish on this is so good. I will share with you in the upcoming time some of my other favorites, but I highly recommend a sunscreen for the lips if you're going to be out all day, because a lot of your glowy glosses will actually like encourage the sun to come to the lips. And not only is that bad for wrinkling and just the overall appearance, it also will fry your lips. And we know that a sunburn is not the best thing on the face, let alone on really thin skin like the lips. So now we're gonna have lip liner is gonna lock everything in, the lip tint is gonna give that base of a stain, and we have this pretty SPF, which is glowy over top. So now we have kind of our final makeup look. Everything looks really beautiful, and we're gonna give it one final lock in with a setting spray. Without going too far down the rabbit hole, just like powders, okay? Guys, there are setting powders and there are finishing powders. There are some that are finely milled, and there are some that come in pans and they are loose powder, and they all do these different things. Well, guess what? Setting sprays are the same way. There are setting sprays, there are finishing sprays. Some are meant to melt the makeup, meaning like really blur any area where one product starts and stops and melt everything together to give it a beautiful finishing look. Others are meant for really locking the makeup in. So Saint's Fixate Spray is actually a setting spray that is meant to melt the makeup and create a flawless look. And while it will extend the life of your makeup a little bit, it does not have the polymers that you're going to want to create the mask over top of the makeup that makes it resistant to some of the environmental challenges that we face in the summer. For something like that, I have a couple of recommendations for you. My favorites being the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Setting Spray. This is a great product that really does give me beautiful wear time regardless of the temperatures. Now, if you are talking extreme heat or you are an oily girl, the Urban Decay D-Slick is where it's at. For an everyday finishing product, this bad boy is an absolute gem. It's gonna lock in your makeup really, really well. If you're looking for one from the drugstore, there is the Milani Make It Last. Now this one has an SPF in it. I don't find it works as well as the original, but I do like that it has added SPF. Overall, the Milani Make It Last is a really good product. I don't love it as much as I do the Urban Decay or the Charlotte Tilbury, but the price point is very good. Let me introduce you to two more that are, I would consider more for, I need to beat the heat or lock my makeup in, like absolute locked in because I have an event. The One Size On Till Dawn, you guys, this is pricey. It is the best product on the market if you have a wedding, if you are going to a graduation party, if you are going to be outdoors for something where you're like, I need my makeup to last all day, you could swim with this on. I bought the little can to test it, and I will 100% be buying the full size one. Somebody introduced me to it when I was doing wedding makeup. She was like, oh, I brought my own. She brought the big full can, and I was like, oh, it was amazing. And it was an outdoor wedding. It lasted all day. A comparable product, but not exactly as good, is the L'Oreal Infallible. What makes these different is the polymers that are in them, but also, do you see how it has like that aerosol finish to it? I would not recommend these for everyday makeup use because of how much it truly creates a coat, like a film on the skin, almost like, and I don't have any scientific evidence to show this, but I feel like this one says up to 36 hours of wear. I feel like it doesn't allow the skin to breathe like you would want it to on the daily, but on the days when you need to lock it in, these bad boys will not disappoint. So for today, I'm just going to a baseball game. I'm gonna go ahead, shake up. You wanna shakey, shake, shake, okay? This is the D-Slick, and you'll see, it is also more of a fine spray. You really wanna coat it. And then you just let it be, okay? You're gonna see it looks a little bit wet right now. We're gonna let that dry, and it's going to not only melt the makeup, it's going to melt the powders, but it's going to create a film over the makeup and really lock everything in. So if you ever over powder, okay, you try a powder and you're like, oh, that ruined my makeup. A fixing spray like Saint's Fixate spray is something perfect to put over top because it's going to remelt the powders and the creams, and you're going to lose a little bit of that harsh powdered finish that you may have gotten. So they work really well for that purpose. All of your setting sprays, fixing sprays are going to have some of that melting, but these are also going to have some of that lock. So before you're finished, after this starts to dry, take a look and say, okay, is there anywhere else that I want to do a final touch up of powder? Maybe that's more of like an event thing as opposed to the day-to-day. But if you want to re-blur under eyes, anything like that, and you sprayed too much, or your setting or fixing spray took away so much of that powdered look that you want to mattify things a little bit, you can go ahead and go in and do that. Because there are mattifying sprays, but there are also sprays that are meant to add glow. Like One Size just introduced the glass skin spray, which of course I'm going to be trying out, but that one is meant to literally make your skin have a finished look that is dewy like glass. So it's going to have the opposite effect of a mattifying spray. There are so many different things on the market. You just have to find what's good for you, but I did list a whole bunch of them below. So I'm going to share one more tip with you regarding this summer makeup, how we can extend the longevity, and it is don't wipe your sweat off the face. What I would recommend is a good blotting paper. So these are Saint's Shine Papers, they're called. You can get the case, which means it's like a really cute thing to throw in your purse, and it comes with a package of the blotting papers inside, or you can just order the papers themselves. There are other brands that sell these. I'm gonna give you a quick trick. If you are going through a Starbucks drive-thru or a McDonald's or any of those fast food coffee shop sort of places that have the really, really thin napkins, don't throw them away. Throw them in your glove compartment, because in a pinch, they will do what a blotting paper or these Shine Papers will do. And instead of swiping your makeup with a towel or a paper towel or the side of your shirt, dab the excess sweat, oil, whatever it is, with one of these, and it's going to hold your makeup in place, but it's going to remove the sweat and the oil. And for my oily skin girls, you can use these all year long if you ever feel like you're producing excess oil and just need a little bit of touch up, but you don't want to mess up your makeup. So that's it, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead, as I said, I did set my under eye with my powder, but I'm gonna get right up underneath the lash line with that same color I used as the base of my eyeshadow look, just to make sure that underneath my eye is set to reduce or prevent any smudging of mascara. And that's it. That is my best tips and tricks. I think I covered them all. I hope I did. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have any questions, as you know, drop them in the comments. And you guys, if you found this video helpful, I would love if you would give it a thumbs up. That helps support our community. And as always, don't forget to hit the subscription button if you'd like to join us for our weekly video. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a thing. And as always, you guys, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.